Okay.
Okay, so, excuse me, let me turn this up. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we're going to be having an interesting conversation at this session. All right, so I know we've just gone through your video profile, right? But for the benefit of those, I mean, I like to say what's from hearing from the horse's mouth. So tell us a bit about Dr. Ijeoma, please. Who exactly is Dr. Ijeoma Nwaogu?
Awesome. It's so good to be here to see all of your energy and experience your energy, and just to be in this space. So hi, everybody. My name is Ijeoma Nwaogu. Born in Nigeria, lived in New York, from Georgia. Now I'm in Houston. Currently, I am the owner of Everlead LLC. It's a leadership consultation enterprise. I do a lot of life coaching, career coaching, business coaching, all of that. I used to work in higher education as a professor, as an administrator, but I realized that I'm really passionate about helping people with their personal growth and development. So I ventured out to do my own thing in business, and here I am now.
Thank you very much. And like she said, she's passionate about professional development, and that's one of the reasons why, as soon as we reached out to her, she did not really hesitate at all. She jumped on to be with us today. All right, so Dr. Ijeoma, thank you for, speaking to us. The title of what we're talking about today is Delighting in Your Differences. And that actually resonates with me a lot because, like I said earlier, this conference was set up to help people in the minority. Now, minority cuts across. You have ethnic minority, you have gender minority, and all of that. How do we get those people at a seat at the table? So, as we dive into that now, can you first tell us what does it mean to be different? What are the differences that we're talking about here?
Yes, that's great. So we're talking about delighting in our difference. So what I mean by difference is what sets you apart from other people, how you are unlike other people in your current environment. And you can think of difference as what makes you diverse. Difference has to do with like those intangible and tangible attributes about who you are. So you might think about your social identity, like those demographical areas, your age, your race, your gender, your ethnicity, all of those. It could be your preferences, it could be your choices, it could be your lifestyle, it could be even circumstances. All these things make you different. So that's what I speak about. And the reason I find it important to talk about delighting in your difference is we have to be really intentional about focusing on what makes us different, because living in this society, we easily fall into trying to fit social norms because naturally we want to belong in the different spaces we're in. We want to fit in. We want to be accepted, loved, valued, all of that. And by default, we end up wanting to be like whatever is considered the norm in that space. But the norm may not necessarily be the ideal situation. So I'm all about leveraging those unique qualities because that's when you can truly accelerate in the right way. So to accelerate for me means you're moving fluidly in the right direction, in a direction that will lead to positive outcomes. And the best way to do that is, well, one of the best ways of doing that is by leveraging what makes you different, is by delighting in your difference. So that's what we're here to talk about today.
Oh, fantastic. A round of applause for that. Thank you very much. Now, a lot of people, many times we say so many things, but people resonate with your stories better, your experiences. Can you just talk to us? Can you share about your own early experiences, about how you felt different and how it affected you? It might resonate with someone as well.
Sure. So who was born in Nigeria here? Okay. Who was primarily raised in the United States? Okay, I see a couple of 3 hands. So we share a commonality. So I was born in Nigeria, moved to New York by the age of 4. I remember being in public school, right? In elementary school, 1st grade is what I remember. And the teacher would be reading roll call and she'll be like, John Brown, he'll raise his hand. Brittany McIntyre, raise hand. Carmen Anderson, raise hand. Then she'll look down, pause, and be like, I'm going to butcher this, or I know I'm going to get this wrong, forgive me. So all that prefacing, and I'll just go ahead and be like, here. I wouldn't even let her say my name, right? So I was so accustomed to that, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, all the way up to 12th grade. So witnessing that sort of experience made me recognize that my name is different. I am different. And not having the education and empowerment at the time to know that your difference is beautiful and precious, you know what I did? I tried everything to conform. I was like, oh, you have this cute little nickname for me? I'll embrace it. If it makes it easier to pronounce my name, or, I would try to do hairstyles like my peers, and I would even fall into being ashamed of my culture. I didn't want it to have anything to do with the food or the dress or the way of speaking, or I tried to diminish my accent as much as I could. So all of these things of shrinking the good and authentic and essential parts of who I was or who I am, that's what was happening. And that's an early experience. I think can anyone relate to that kind of experience of feeling like your difference is a disadvantage in a space? So that's a natural thing, but we have to be really intentional about recognizing the value of what makes us different and celebrating it.
Oh, wow, amazing. Round of applause. Thank you very much. All right, so thank you for sharing with us your early experiences at your differences, okay? But I'm sure even right now you still get to experience some kind of differences, right? So talk to us about that. What kind of differences do you experience now, and how do you get to navigate those experiences now?
Sure. So for now, in my lived experience, I'm recognizing that I'm a very emotional person. I know in the past I've been told that, oh, you're too emotional, and I would look at that as a bad thing. Like, I need to fix this. I need to become more stoic. I need to, But I'm recognizing more and more that my emotions are powerful. They're important. They're necessary. They're a gift that I could give to other people. So I find myself in spaces where, natural coach, I like to ask deep questions to get to the soul of things and to get people to really reflect on how they think, how they feel. And oftentimes when I'm talking to like some of my friend groups and I ask them this deep question, they're like, oh, they don't know what to do with that, because nobody really asked them those questions that would require them to be vulnerable. And I used to shrink back with that side of me, just the curiosity about learning about who I'm talking to. But I'm not doing that anymore, because I recognize that that's a gift. And I could be that person that allows someone to feel seen and heard and valued if I give myself permission to say, well, how's your heart today? And pause and allow them to really think about that, because how many people have asked you, how's your heart today? So I realize that it's a powerful way of being. It's part of my natural intelligence. And that's another thing that makes up for our difference, our natural intelligences. These are our gifts. So I used to shrink back because of that emotional side of me that is willing to be vulnerable, willing to tap into the emotions, but I'm not shrinking back anymore. So.
That's fantastic. Round of applause. Thank you very much. Now, it's one thing for people to tell you the kinds of differences or how you might be different, but it's one thing for you to be able to perceive some differences for yourself. So how do you think people interpret their own differences?
Yeah, and that's the issue I want to be able to tackle for you all today. Like, sometimes we perceive our difference as a deficiency, as a disadvantage, but it is actually the opposite. It is your superpower. You just have to sit with yourself, dismantle all the shame that comes with whatever you feel makes you different, and recognize the importance of that quality within yourself. So there are a variety of things that make us feel like our difference is a deficiency. Childhood trauma, messages you got from uncle or auntie growing up, and they told you like, oh, you're too this or you're too that, or you're not smart enough, or you're, this quality of yours, you need to not, be like that. When in fact, those qualities are great things about you. Right? So I think the issue is messages we get from other people that we've internalized. And another thing is stereotype threat. Have you all heard that phrase before? Anyone? So that's like a stigma in your mind where you are afraid to show up or behave in ways that match a stereotype about your identity group. So you might be in a meeting full of white people, and you're afraid to say something because you don't want to say something that sounds ignorant because of that stereotype, that painful, horrible, untrue stereotype about Black people, right? So that's an example of stereotype threat. You could think of any of those horrible stereotypes and how it shows up in your life. But you have to recognize that those are falsities, they're not true, they're inaccurate, and that you are not a stereotype. So that's another way that, we internalize some of these messages, and then it affects how we show up in different social settings.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you so much. So now, what do you think we need to do to understand our unique qualities? Because if we have this interpretation, how do we get to understand the uniqueness that we have? What should we do, or what should we understand about our unique qualities?
Sure, yeah, what we should understand about our unique qualities is that they are needed in this world. That's why you are in this world. That is part of your purpose. Whatever makes you different, your purpose lives in your difference. So whatever makes you different, that is your purpose. Therefore, there should be a sense of obligation to tap into that thing that makes you different, to make the world a better place. I know that sounds super cliche, but that's exactly what it is. How can you utilize or leverage those unique qualities to make the world better, to even earn more money, to service other people, to have an impact in this world, to make your life better? How can you leverage those unique qualities? So I want you to understand, for example, if you're at work and you notice like you're the other person or you're one of the few of your kind in a space, that makes you the authority of that experience, not necessarily an authority over other people telling people what to do. No, just the authority of that lived experience that you are aware of. So you get to bring in these awesome ideas, awesome perspectives that could really add to the value and enhance what's going on in the workplace, because there's something called groupthink. That's when you could just imagine people who look all the same are on a team and they all think the same. Ideas are going to be stagnant. There's not going to be much innovation. There's not going to be much creativity because everybody's agreeing. Everybody comes from the same perspective. So you need diversity to say, how about this? How about that? And it adds to the creativity and innovation of a space. So I don't know why any organization wouldn't want to leverage diversity, because then you get to be more progressive in what you're doing.
Fantastic. A round of applause. Thank you very much. And I mean, just while you're talking about that, it reminds me of my own personal experience as well. I mean, like I shared earlier, I'm in a space where there's hardly ever anybody that looks like myself in that space. And when I went into interviews, I was going into interviews competing against, white Irish female teachers. And one of the things I did was I understood my uniqueness. I understood I was totally different from these people, and I capitalized on that. Right. So when I went into the interview rooms and I said to them, you all have you have Americans, you have Nigerians, you have black people you have black children in your school. But hey, these guys have never been taught by an African before. They've never been taught by a black person before. I may not be able to bring to you what that person is bringing to you, but what I am bringing to you is diversity. If you can get me in, the diversity that next person may not be able to bring to you, I will bring it to you. And that's one of the reasons why I got a permanent contract, even when other people could not get it. So celebrating that uniqueness. Now, you've talked about, you've explained how our differences is our superpower, right? It's not something that we should shy away from. Now, but what are some reasons why people may experience their differences as a threat? Okay, in some social settings. So some people see their differences as a threat rather than as a superpower that you've talked about. Why do you think this happens?
It's just a natural reaction to fear. Like, it happens, like we talked about, because of the messages you've internalized throughout your life. And the natural reaction is to protect yourself. So you kind of withdraw or you do all kinds of stuff. Previous messages that you've received kind of guide your actions. So that's one of the reasons.
Round of applause. Thank you very much. And as this conversation is going on, if you have your own questions as well, you just indicate, raise your hand. And for those online as well, I'll see if I can get any questions from there as well. So does anybody have any questions here before I go? And I have a lot of questions, but just don't want to limit it to my conversations here. Any questions? Okay, we have a question there. Thank you very much.
I guess I see what you're saying, but like, how can you tell the difference between a weakness and a difference, I guess? I feel like sometimes, like you're saying, our differences shouldn't be looked as weaknesses, but isn't there some kind of trait, I guess, that you want to improve or change?
For sure. Just because your difference is your superpower, as I like to call it, doesn't mean you're perfect in that area. Sometimes our strengths are our weaknesses. And everything we do in life is all about balance. How do we respond better with this gift of mine? Because sometimes I might be too emotional and it might be inappropriate, but if I leverage it properly, it becomes a strength, right? Our challenges are our strengths. It's just how we're tuning into it, what we're aware of in terms of how we're responding to it. So I don't want you to get the message that just because this is your gifting, your strength, that means you're perfect at it. No. Oftentimes, that gifting is our weakness as well.
Thank you very much. Any other questions before I move on? Okay, we have another question here.
How do you...
Just the microphone.
Hi. How do you get the notion or the like? Because I know I want to build something. I know it's there. I know it's in me. But how do I build myself to get that confidence? And I know the difference. I know how to navigate through things. But why do I allow myself to leave myself in this cloud and not go forward? Like, how do I get myself to get to that mannerism, the mentality, the mindset to even go just do it?
One thing I want to point out for you, I know this is kind of a little bit off topic, but I just like to give observations. I know you're going to go far. You know why I know that? Because you're taking notes. You're taking notes. That tells me you are serious about your development and your growth. The thing that comes to mind immediately for me is to get coaching. Sometimes you need to hear it from someone to confirm some of the things you already know. And that's what's going to help you move forward. So you already know that you got it. You already know your potential. You just need somebody. And we can't do life alone. That's just the truth of the matter. Get a coach who could reaffirm some things for you, let you see something out. You know, when you're viewing things, it's like a cloud, and you need to get that fear cloud removed. And a coach can help do that. So you could see clearly the truth of the matter, which is you have everything it takes. You already kind of know what to do. You just need that extra confirmation and support. So that's what I would say. I would also journal. I mean, you're writing. So I would also spend time in solitude journaling about, okay, when does this fear come up? What is it telling me? Is this a truth or an untruth? And if it's untrue, you know, this thing that you're grappling with, this idea, then go ahead and dismantle it. Go ahead and make a decision. It's all about deciding. Make a decision to say, I'm no longer going to succumb to this fear. Go forth and do what you need to do, even if you still feel fearful. Okay. Do it while you're afraid. But it's all about action. Making a decision, acting, get you a good coach, and you'll see a difference.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Now, how do, when people get to see their differences as shame or as a deficiency, in your own experience, I mean, as a line of work, what exactly happens to those people? What does that cause as a result of those things?
Sure. And you might see some of these in your own lived experiences. So I'm going to give you 4 self-sabotaging behaviors that people, you know, how people respond when they feel like their difference is a deficiency, or they feel like they're an imposter in a space because of what makes them different. Number 1, I call it pushback behavior. This is like when you're overcompensating, overworking yourself, just overdoing everything so that other people could view you as competent or that you belong, right? So you might be staying up way too late at night, perfecting a presentation or working on your talk and all that stuff, and you're burning yourself out. You, just as you are in your authentic presence, is enough. Show up with your curiosity. But instead, when we feel that our difference is a bad thing, we do that overcompensating. That's like fight mode, if you will. Not necessarily fighting somebody, but that's like putting your body in fight mode. The second one is you escape. That's escaping behavior, where you either leave early at an event or come late to an event because you want to avoid certain social situations where you might feel awkward or like the only one. So that's another response, right? And not just an event, any social setting. The third one is shut down behavior. So you could imagine yourself maybe in a classroom, for example, and everybody's raising their hand talking, and you've got something to say, but you won't raise your hand. Because if you raise your hand and say something, you might out yourself as somebody who's not supposed to be there, right? So that's another response. The fourth one is people pleasing. When you want to gain the favor of other people because you feel inadequate or you feel like your difference is just too much, that you try to is still part of overcompensating, that you try to schmooze and be overly nice just to gain favor from that person that you feel holds power in a space. So those are 4 self-sabotaging behaviors. They're kind of fear-based behaviors that you might take on because you feel like you don't belong, because you feel like your difference is just too much, that you're not supposed to be in that space. So can any of you guys, have you witnessed that? Let's ask about other people. Have you witnessed that in somebody else? We're not going to ask about you. Have you witnessed that in someone else that you're with? So you can definitely see that. So my question goes back to you. When are those times? What social situations are you in when you feel like you need to push back or shrink or shut down or escape or people please? What are those situations?
Very valuable, teacher. Round of applause there. Okay, excuse me. We're getting to the end of this conversation. If there's still any other questions, we're happy to take that. But the topic for today or this conversation is delighting in your differences, right? So talk to us about this. What does this mean, and why is it important for us to take this particular approach?
Sure. Delighting in your difference means to enjoy what makes you different, to be elevated by what makes you different, to be lifted up by what makes you different. And to be able to do those things, you have to be deliberate and make a decision that you will choose to delight in your difference. Otherwise, it's not going to work. We're going to go back into default mode and try to fit into social norms and try to do what everybody else is doing without tapping into what God has given us that is special about each and every one of us. So it's about allowing your difference to uplift you. That's what I mean. And it allows you to just live a more purposeful, fulfilled life.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Round of applause there. Now, because of our time, I'll take just one more question. Anybody with any questions? I'll just take out the online community to have any questions. Okay, we have one question there. We'll take that question. All right, let's go ahead. Let's have a question.
Hi.
Hi.
So I wanted to, if you don't mind, wanted to ask you to please speak some more on your being an emotional person. I relate a lot with that. I'm a very emotional person. I feel very strong emotions. Anger, sadness, happiness, everything is just heightened. And it's something I've been working on over the years, trying to manage them well. It's not as much as they show through my actions. I think I'm good at controlling my actions and behaviors, but it's how it affects me on the inside and my mind. So I wanted to ask you how you've managed to deal with that. I think what I find that I'm struggling with in recent times is like sort of finding the middle ground, right? Not being taken for granted, like trying to accept my uniqueness as a strength, as being unique, but also not, being taken for granted, not doing too much, giving but not giving too much. How have you dealt with that? Was it therapy? Was it?
Yeah, that's the word that comes up for me. And therapy is for normal people who live through this difficult life. So I encourage everybody, and as you were speaking, that's the word that was coming up to me. Therapy. It could be very helpful in unpacking a lot of those emotions and where they come from. It could be childhood. And these are valid reasons. There might be things that hurt you in childhood that have triggered a lot in you that cause you to respond in certain ways. So once you're aware of that, you could have a better grip on how you react to things, how you respond. But therapy is a good space to really unpack a lot of things so that you could realize, and it could be lifted from your subconscious to your conscious. So you're aware of what's going on, and that'll allow you to respond in the way you desire, okay? That doesn't mean you're no longer going to be an emotional person, because we've decided that being emotional is a gift. It's beautiful. You're an empath. You hold space for other people to share their feelings as well. The list can go on and on. But I don't want you to pathologize your gifting of being an emotional person. It's just about identifying those things that make it go haywire and being able to respond better once you're aware of those. You get some of the tools from a therapist to say, here are some steps to take to start practicing how to manage emotions better. Have y'all seen Inside Out 2? I think that is I don't care that it's an animated film, that is for grown-ups, just as much as it is for children. Because we know in this society, people like to say emotions, get out of the way, but we are all emotional creatures. We make decisions based on emotions. Everything is emotions. So what that movie does is, it's almost like it makes your different emotions tangible so you could see them in action, see how it's hard to describe that film, but I think it's a very important film that everybody needs to see. Very important, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
Wow, thank you very much. Now, I'm enjoying this conversation. I wish we could go on and on, but we know we are pressed for time. So, any last thoughts, comments, words for people out there about celebrating and delighting in the differences?
Yes, just quick steps. Identify what makes you different. Recognize the importance of why that difference is needed and why it matters. Cherish the difference in other people because it normalizes this idea of being different, and it allows you to embrace your own differences as well. Use your differences for good. Find a way, even if it's outside of what you do normally on a day-to-day, find a way to leverage your difference to do good in the world. That adds to your purpose. And the last thing I want to say is just to be authentic in the spaces you're in, because somebody might be watching you, and when they see that you're your authentic self, it inspires them to be their authentic selves. Now, I will add a caveat. In, let's say, workspaces where you don't feel psychologically or emotionally safe because you feel that people don't really accept your authentic self, that's a possibility. But your ultimate end goal is to position yourself in an environment that recognizes you matter, that values those things that make you different. It may not be feasible. You might need a paycheck, right, to survive. But your ultimate plan and goal is to get out of that situation that doesn't allow you to be your authentic self. They don't deserve you, right? And position yourself in a space where you can matter. That's the ultimate goal, okay? That's what I would say.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. A round of applause for Dr. Ijeoma. Thank you so much. And at this time, can I have her award, please? Can we just give her that? Thank you so very much. Yes, and on behalf of myself and everybody at the Impact Leadership Conference, we'd like to present you with this. Are we good here? Okay, yes, okay. Maybe you want to drop that?
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much. This is so exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate this. This is special.
Thank you.